Hello and welcome back to the B-Show. We are back with another book review. Yes, I read 2 books in 2 days. This one is The Break by KATHERENA VERMETTE. I hope I'm saying that correctly. For those of you who don't know, my name is Brendan and I'm an actor and I'm working on a BA in English. Hence me having to read all these books so quickly. The course I'm currently working on is Indigenous Literature. The exam is tonight, actually. If you would like to see more, please feel free to like, subscribe, share, notification bell, all that jazz. I also have a TikTok, at the B.Show, if you're interested in checking that out. So this will work in the same style as my last one, which is I will do a basic no spoiler review. I will have a little warning screen and then we'll move on to a deeper discussion and analysis of the book. Okay, let's get into the review. Essentially, the book revolves around a crime which takes place at The Break. It is a geographical location in the novel. So the story follows the effect that this crime has on the victim and their family and all the individual family members. There are very many different characters in this book. It's an intergenerational family story. But as we slowly discover clues to the crime and the who, what, where, when of it all, we also slowly piece together the history and the lives of the individuals and this family as a whole. So the book is structured in the way that each chapter is from a different character's perspective, and it kind of jumps between past and present. Overall, it's about the struggles that face the indigenous culture as a whole, but it's very specifically honed in on the female perspective. Even though the story does revolve around this horrible, devastating crime, the book is ultimately a story of healing and family and the support family can provide and the importance of that in the healing process. It's also a commentary on individualism and how each person deals with trauma in their own unique individual way. As for the writing style of the book, I was a very big fan of it. Once again, like Monkey Beach, liked that it was, for the most part, straightforward in its delivery, yet still able to give you a vivid image when you were reading it. The only slight negative I would say is that it was a little bit confusing following the lineage and the family tree. It took a while to think on who was who here and there as you were reading it. But overall, rich with imagery, very smartly and beautifully written. I would love to read more from this author. Anyway, overall, I thoroughly enjoyed this book. And as for rating, I would give it a solid 4.5 out of 5 B's. That is a highly recommended read. So yeah, that about sums it up for the brief synopsis and review. Like I said, highly recommended. If you have not read the book and don't want any spoilers, this is where I would stop the video. For those who have read it and would like to go into further discussion and analysis, buckle up. Okay, so welcome to part 2. Let's start with the title. I think that's probably a good place to start. A very good place to start. When you read, you begin with The Break by KATHERENA VERMETTE. Wow. So yeah, now that I've lost half my followers and viewers, those who have stuck around, thank you. The Break. Obviously, we're dealing with the geographical location. Stella's house is located right there. It's where the crime takes place. And it is described as this kind of vast, empty space with nothing around. It's disconnected from everything. There was also mention of it being separated or divided from the rest of the town or community, which kind of represents, I believe, the indigenous versus the West, separation. You're included, but separated. So there's a break in that way of community. But then it goes even further into a break in the indigenous community itself. That community has a lot of gang violence, history of violence, alcohol and drug abuse, poverty issues. So that kind of represents a break in the indigenous community itself. And then metaphorically speaking, the break seems to be more symbolic of break in family. So really, it's like on each level, as microscopic as you get, we're dealing with a break of some sort. Even when you get right down to the individual, every character is broken in one way or another. Okay, let's move on to characters. I'm not going to go individually through each character like I did with Monkey Beach because there's just way too many. But I'm assuming everyone here at this point has read the book already. So what I did find interesting, character-wise, was that the whole book was written from a third-person perspective. But I did notice that Lou and Rain, which I loved those little Rain introductions before each section of the book. So Rain is speaking from a dead perspective. There's another break for you between living and dead. And Lou is speaking from a living perspective, but both of them are the only characters written from first-person narrative. To be honest with you, I'd have to think about that more. I'm not quite sure why. If anyone has any opinions or suggestions or theories, please feel free to comment below. Also, character-wise, it's very obvious that most characters are written from the female perspective, but I did enjoy the character of Tommy and her offering that flip side of the coin to show that this character, even from a male perspective, was also feeling a break from family, from community. Even within his job, he's experiencing discrimination. It was very clear that she was like, this is obviously representing the female indigenous perspective and struggle, while still offering that male perspective and the struggle also being there. And the perspective of Phoenix, the perpetrator. So while saying we're going to focus on these particular struggles, we're still going to acknowledge the fact that the struggles are everywhere. So yeah, I thought that was handled really well. I mean, I realized the irony of me almost even reviewing this from a white male perspective. But I do think my biggest takeaway, I'm shocked by how ignorant I was towards these issues, and anything I did know of them was very, very surface level. I genuinely feel that the true history of Canada needs to be taught, and America, wherever, whatever country you're in. The true history needs to be taught starting now, today. I think it's important. I'm not sure the state of that in the world today, but I'm hoping it's moving towards a better place. Okay, let's move on to themes, racism and discrimination. And that was mostly represented, in my opinion, through the police force. It showed the racism and discrimination of the way they treated Stella, everyone they interviewed really, especially the white, older, jaded policeman. Also, obviously, themes of violence, not only with the crime, but also the violence put upon other characters in the past and other family members. The effects of violence on everyone. That one crime ends up affecting every single person in the family, whether they are aware of it or not. Family, obviously a huge theme, that intergenerational connection, the connection between the dead and the living, the stories of the past, what they've given us, what they've left us. It also showed family from Phoenix's perspective, from a disintegrating, broken family, and the effect that that has. Really, that was maybe my favorite thing about the book, now that I'm talking about this all, was the clear message portrayed, but still always showing the other side. I just found that really interesting. It kept you constantly thinking and questioning. It was hard to make judgments and decisions because you were constantly seeing different perspectives and in one way or another sympathizing with those issues. Time was a very key theme in this, past, present, future, Also how after the crime was committed, everything became, really, I guess the novel as a whole is written as a before the crime or incident and after the incident. Emily is the one who expresses those words specifically, but I think there's someone else. Flora, before she dies, I think mentions how someone told her once that the past, present, and future all happened at once. And so, just as much as the break has multiple meanings, there is healing associated with each of those meanings, and I think that's the ultimate message of the book, is the healing and the individual processes we all do, the importance of family in that healing. But I did like also with Phoenix, again, even though her family doesn't heal in the end, there's still a glimmer of hope for her. Flora, before she dies at the end, has another quote that's like, where there is life, there's hope. So even though it seems hopeless for Phoenix, the fact that she buries it all and holds her chin up and carries on, there is a bit of hope in there somewhere that something could change in one way or another down the road. Also, the break representing that vast, open emptiness. That emptiness represents like distance from family, and it's the closeness of family and the tight-knit unity that helps every one of them get through their trauma. The young boys want to resort to violence. They want to get revenge on the people who committed the crime. And they learn through the elders a different set of values, that revenge isn't necessarily the best way and violence isn't necessarily the best way. Tommy also learns that the relationship he's in isn't healthy. He needs to reconnect with his mother and his history and his family as well, and reclaim his identity. Identity was a big thing for Tommy, and he's realizing he needs to find his true identity in the world he lives in. Ultimately, I think the message was saying that the true path to healing is in traditional family, indigenous values. Like I said, I thought it was a fabulous book, really well written, really smartly written. That's about all I can think of here. Like I said, I would love further discussion in the comments if you're interested. I really connected with this book. Particularly for me, it was the message of individual healing and the different processes we go through. And even if you don't have family to rely on always, there is still hope in life. Overall, I loved the class. I loved everything I had to read for this class, which is rare. Yeah, that's about it. Thank you for watching. For those who have stuck around, thank you so much. Please feel free to like, subscribe, notification bell. Also, TikTok is right there. So thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time on The Bee Show. Bye.